Good afternoon. This is Neil Spate, Stanford-le-Hope News, in a very wet Stanford-le-Hope, where I've been asked by some local residents to pop down and just see for myself some of the concerns that they're experiencing. I'm in the back garden of a house on Poley Road, where, as you can see, there's a considerable amount of water now seeping through. And where it's coming from is the new Persimmon housing development on the other side of the road, which we're going to go around and have a view of in a minute. There's a little beck that runs between the fence that you can see here and the actual estate, where they've dug a couple of ponds supposedly to take the residual water. The beck itself is now full of water. It's about 4 foot deep, I'm told, and the residents here are saying it's never been that full before. Now, okay, we've had some wet weather in the last few days, but it's not been biblical. It's not been hugely torrential. So one wonders what would happen if we did get that sort of a problem. As you can see here, this back garden now, and we're quite close to these houses, is not it's not going to have to rise a great deal before it's going to start getting towards the houses themselves. So you can understand the residents' concern, and I'm told the concerns have been brushed aside by both Persimmon and Thurrock Council, who they've spoken to. So we're just going to have a quick wander through to the next doors now, and we'll have a view of exactly what there is out there, and you'll be able to see for yourself the amount of water and the proximity of the new development. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I think the key here is that there needs to be some investigative work. We've got a huge amount of new housing in the area. Quite a bit of it has actually been built in floodplain. We're always assured it won't be a problem, and the residents here were assured it wouldn't be a problem. They're now starting to have second thoughts, and as I say, it's one of those things where forewarned is better forearmed, and one would think that something needs to be done about it. We will try and get some response from Thurrock Council and Persimmon. The residents here are told they're banging on a brick wall and not getting anything, but those of you who can see, you can have a look at the amount of water that's literally running right up against the backyards now. And this has never been, in their memory, as deep as this. I'm sure there may be some Stanford residents who remember days past when it was. But as you can see across, there are two ponds that have been created. The nearest one to us, we're told, is the overflow pond, which is now full and seeping this way. So I think clearly there are some areas of concern here. This estate has only got a few houses on it, adjacent to Stanford Road. There are quite a lot more to still go on here. And as was reported on Stanford-le-Hope News yesterday, in the adjacent field, which is to the right as you're looking now, there's another plot of land that's accessed from Victoria Road, which is also designated floodplain, and 150 plus houses are going to start being built on there later this year. The groundworks will start with construction of the houses, which are a modular design and being brought in. Should be in round about this time the following year. So there's an awful lot more houses going to go on here, and one has to ask the question, where is the water going to go? So we will be asking those questions. Anybody in the area who's got concerns about flooding, about building on floodplain, please send us a message. All the messages that we get, all the fears and concerns of residents, will pass on to the builders and to the Environment Agency and to Thurrock Council. So hopefully the public concern will be brought to the right attentions, and I will also be speaking to local councillors. So, as I say, from a pretty damp, wet and waterlogged Stanford-le-Hope, this is Stanford-le-Hope News. This is Neil Spate, Stanford-le-Hope News again. I just did a broadcast from down Poley Road and immediately got some calls saying pop down to Belreeves Close in Stanford, where it's very deep. And I thought, well, I'll just nip across the footbridge by the beck, the River Hope, and and then came across this. As you can see, this is the site of Daybreak Windows, who are just about to vacate their premises, and this will be the new Thurrock Council car park. This is the River Hope. As you can see, it is very full. I've lived in Stanford since 2004, 16, nearly 17 years. And in my short time here, I've never seen it anywhere near this sort of level. It's not really as if we've had huge amounts of rain of biblical proportions, so one has to wonder why all of a sudden we're getting this amount of water coming down. I'm told that round the corner, on the other side of the river, Belreeves Close, which I'm going to go now, the water is now reaching houses. There are some cars that are stranded in it. So the situation is certainly cause for concern here in Stanford-le-Hope. And as things develop, we will keep you up to date during the day. This is Neil Spate with a third of this early afternoon's reports, and possibly here in the distance there are emergency sirens. I'm now in the car park at Belreeves Close in Stanford-le-Hope, and as you can see, it's a rather unfortunate scene for the owners of these vehicles, and indeed I imagine of great concern to the people who are living in the houses here as well. This is clearly a number of cars that are going to suffer considerable damage through to the flood. But where this is sited is adjacent to the River Hope, which I just took a picture of from down at the other side of the River Hope. But I'll now come down to the back of the houses on Belreeve, and as you can see, the river is now threatening these houses, and indeed appears to have actually reached some of the buildings. There are no entrances at this side, so one hopes it doesn't rise a great deal higher, but this presumably threatens. In the distance, as you look beyond those bushes just in front of me, is the site where, as I mentioned earlier on and wrote a story about yesterday, we're going to get over 150 new homes next year. Work on that site will be starting in the not too distant future. So all the stories we're hearing about increases in flood risk and the danger to this area is certainly something to be quite concerned about. Hopefully it's just cars and hasn't yet reached, but I'm told this water level has risen quite considerably in the last hour or so. And we have got an awful lot of rain, I'm told, still possibly forecast. Indeed, I understand there may even be some snow later on today in this area, but we will contact the appropriate people and raise the appropriate concerns. For the moment, let's just keep fingers crossed that things do not get any worse here in Stanford-le-Hope. This is what will be the fourth and last for the moment video from Stanford-le-Hope. This is the end of Ellie Close, where as you can see the river is running pretty adjacent now to some properties. It doesn't look like there's been any significant damage to cars or properties yet, but if this rises a bit more then there could well be. And earlier on I was mentioning the houses that are going to be built. You now get a clearer view of where these houses are going to be. You can see beyond the tree in front of me where the land is flooded. You can see the railway line in the distance. Basically all that bracken that's over there is planned to be houses. This is Neil Spate, Thurrock News on Runnymede, where unfortunately it now looks like we're going to be able to report, unfortunately, on the fact that waters are now affecting homes. As you can see, the fire service are here on site. This is all very sad. Don't need any words from me, really. Hopefully this is as bad as it's going to get, but as you can see, the fire service are now involved. There's the local park. And this really has come out of the blue today here in Stanford-le-Hope. Although one theory has been expounded by someone who should know what he's doing, a local farmer who has commented that he believes that part of the problem may be the A13 widening, which has created a barrier for water that would naturally escape, and it's now all being funneled into Stanford-le-Hope. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It seems to be okay around here. Obviously residents are very concerned. We've got sandbags outside the house in front of us, and clearly this is a very difficult situation here in Stanford-le-Hope. We've tried to contact local councillors, but no, there's been no response. We've asked Thurrock Council, but clearly now the emergency services are on scene, then with a bit of luck there'll be some help. But as you can see here, the water isn't just coming from the river, it's coming up, and this is why I imagine that Anglian Waters or Essex and Suffolk Water are on the scene. All very, very sad. We will keep you informed as the day goes on. Just one last video here in Stanford-le-Hope for the moment. As you can see, the water is continuing to come up from all sources, and I've just been speaking to a couple of members of the fire crews. One of the guys who's the team in front of us down there, that's the Corringham crew, who've been very, very busy today dealing with flooding all around the area apparently, and a couple of lads on the crew, long serve, as I say, they've not seen this area, which hasn't been noted for flooding before on Runnymede. He doesn't recall it ever being as bad as this, so clearly something somewhere has changed. But we'll be asking questions of Thurrock Council about that, about whether they're going to look at their plans for the new homes on the floodplain that I've just seen that is underwater, or whether, as we keep getting told, there's no problem.